الله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Alhamdulillah, or inshallah, I would say we are in the last few days before Ramadan, isn't it true? Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow all of us to meet this amazing, blessed month. Do remember, as quickly as it is now that we have been preparing for the past 2-3 months, right? And quickly we are already a few days that it is almost within our grasp. As quickly as it reaches Ramadan, it will only also leave us very quickly. So something that we do need to truly understand regarding our what we should do and what we should not do. We will cover a little bit inshallah later, inshallah. Okay. So before that, inshallah, let us look at the dua that we should know, right? There are certain du'as, sadly, that even in Islam channel that they had. Did any one of you listen to Islam channel? Akram?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
Salam
wa
alaikum.
barakatuh. No.
No, okay. It's not a loss, no big loss anyway. Or it's not a loss at all if you don't see the Islam channel. Used to be so good, but I think there's so much dilutions of the deen now. Sad. Used to be. I went there before. I almost appeared in Islam channel before, but and when I went in the office itself, even the staff, when it comes to the dhuhr time, asar time, and I was there. They prayed together in congregations in the office, which is amazing for me. Everybody stopped working, everybody joined in the prayer, and that is supposed to be. But I doubt that it is the policy is as it is now. So much dilutions, and I may have blurted out a little bit a few days later how even they were saying good luck to the in front of TV. And I think if you want to appear in front of Islam channel, there must be a way to portray yourselves. For me personally, even though you are not wearing hijab, and I'm not saying to pretend, right? But even for the sake of the Islam or Muslim audience, if you want to have a good image, you do need to put hijab. For example, if even you don't go wear hijab but you go to the mosque, you should put the hijab, inshallah, in order for hopefully that Allah guides you more. You need to put the hijab. But subhanallah, in some channels completely, free mixing and all this. So I don't know what to say. It is getting worse. So that's why I stopped saying. But all I'm trying to say, as part of the Ramadan dua, right? And I need to ask you a question: is there a dua for, or should I say, is there an authentic dua to start this for the sahur?
No.
I think I have a sticker on my fridge or a magnet on my fridge that says something means salty Ramadan or something like that.
What?
Should I quickly go check it?
No.
Allah.
Yeah, no.
Ramadan or something like that.
If you have, now there is something that Allah bless me in the month of Sha'ban and Rajab and Sha'ban and allow me to meet Ramadan. That is not authentic, right? We discussed before so many times. Perhaps you can say Allahumma balighna Ramadan, oh Allah, allow me to meet Ramadan. Yes, right. But I'm talking about in the morning, right? In Islam channel has this every morning or every Thursdays and Mondays. Assuming for them people are fasting, right? They have this before Fajr. They would because sometimes when I do my sahur just on the Islam channel and to see what they have to say. They have this dua for sahur. Now, technically, we shouldn't say technically. There is no authentic hadith. Full stop. Right? Do not know why they. Some people have this bad habit of, well, whether it's weak or strong hadith, you should implement it, which is completely wrong, right? The science of hadith is very clear in terms of that we should only implement a hadith in the sahih category or authentic or hasan. Hasan means good, a little bit less, but still acceptable. Weak and fabricated hadith, of course, we should completely cast them aside. But they did it. So all I'm trying to say, the hadith that you hear in Islam channel for sahur is not authentic, full stop. And I have to say that, right? So there's no hadith at all. So and continue with the next dua that we should say. If any one of you are fasting and somebody is annoying you, what do you say?
And صومي, I think.
Yeah, if they don't understand Arabic.
I'm fasting.
Yeah, I'm fasting twice. All right. You shouldn't lose your temper, right? Because it's in month of Ramadan, and you should always control your tongue, right? So do not lose your temper. It's not you guys. I was just advising someone. I won't mention the names, of course. How some people parents were advising me to advise with their children regarding how they raise their voice against the parents. So, especially against your parents, brothers, you must not raise your voice above your parents. Isn't it true? Agreed? Ayub?
Yes, 100%.
Not you, of course, Ayub, right? Where did Allah say this in the Quran?
All I know is that there was
Isra.
a surah about your parents, and he said, Jannah is under the feet of your mother. And then
That's not a surah. That is the hadith, right?
That's hadith.
But this is under the mother, of course. But specifically, Allah said, "Do not say oof." Isn't it true? Which surah is this, Akram?
Surah Al-Isra, but I forgot the ayah.
I think it is verse number 23, inshallah. وَقَضَ رَبُّكَ أَلَا تَعْبُدُ إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِندَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُل لَّهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُل لَّهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Right, 17 in verse number 23. I just want to tell you about the meaning in certain, and I don't like to assume this is the meaning. I just want to be certain the meaning, right? And your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him, and that you be dutiful to your parents. If one of them or both of them attain old age in your life, say not to them a word of disrespect, nor shout at them, but address them in terms of honor. And this is very important. I remember shall I say this? Of course, I was forced to memorize this verse, I think when I was 6 or 7 by my father. And I remember this verse very well. And it's good with your children later, inshallah, brothers. There are certain things in the Quran that you do need to actually enforce it to them that they can remember, right? And 24, right? وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. Right? And lower to them the wing of submission and humility through mercy, and say, my Lord, bestow on them your mercy as they did bring me up when I was young. Right? So, quite important dua that you and I should make to parents, isn't it true? Right? To ask Allah to grant them mercy and Jannah, of course. Another dua for parents that we should say, it's not part of Ramadan, but of course part of a general dua for parents. What is it?
Is it Rabbi Awzi'ani?
No.
And
yeah, of course it is. But another more simple one, shorter one. وَرَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لِي
وَلِوَالِدَيَّ
وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابِ. Is it true? Which surah is this?
I was thinking of another ayah, to be honest. I don't know.
14, verse number 40. Right? So let me confirm. For sure it's 14. Verse number 41, sorry. Yep, 41. Okay. Again, regarding the parents, what you were saying just now, which surah was it, Akram? Rabbi Awzi'ani an ashkura ni'mataka adam ta'ala. Which surah is this?
Is it Shura? 42, I think.
No, it's not.
Or فصلت.
You're talking about the is it you're talking about the dua of the Sulaiman, isn't it true? With the ends.
Oh, though it's similar to that, but that
Yeah.
one's I think I don't know what that one is, but
You should memorize that, because what you're talking about in Surah 46, verse number 16, is for people like me who are 40.
yeah, that one. That's the one.
Right? You're not 40 yet, so go to the other side.
Oh wow. Okay.
Go to the I think it was Surah number 27, because remember Sulaiman alayhi salam, and his army was passing by, and Sulaiman had these ants was telling each other to be careful of the army of Sulaiman. I think 27 is An-Naml, verse number 19, right? If you're above 40, and this is specifically what is 46, verse number 16, right? 46, and this is just a general dua, because the topic today, half of it is about dua, half of it is about the things which we should avoid, inshallah. Okay, so these are the dua in which, in general, of course, you can make any dua in any language, but the best dua is still, of course, from the Quran and from authentic hadith. But this dua, as you know, is very general. You have your own personal problems, I have my personal problems, and I do make dua in my own language. Right? But in general, some of the dua which includes gratefulness to Allah, asking Allah to forgive us and punishments, should be found in the Quran, inshallah. Okay, so 46, verse number 15. Right, this is about those who are above 40. You will read this. You can read this, of course, if you're below 40, but that verse specifically for people who reach 40. Right, the youth, right, below 40 usually is 27, verse number 19. Okay, questions? Okay, now regarding the iftar, of course, right, is there a dua that you should say? What is the dua that you say in your iftar? ذهب الظمأ وبطلت الأروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. Now the one which you may hear from the Islam channel, some scholars did say that the first bit is and if you include the first bit, this is the second bit of that long dua. The first bit is not authentic according to what I find out. So I just stick to the one which is authentic, right? And this is Abu Dawud. Also Sheikh Albani proved that it's authentic, right? The thirst is gone, the veins are moistened, and the reward is confirmed, inshallah. So again, this is not a dua, right? I understand, Akram, Jazakallah khair, that you corrected somebody. You don't say dua. When you say dua, you don't say, because when we say to others, may Allah make your journey easy, may Allah improve your deen, you're making dua, so you shouldn't say inshallah, right? Because that shows that you're not certain or yaqeen in your dua. But this is not actually a dua, because this is just an expression, right? That you are grateful to Allah, right? So, and this, it is part of what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us. ذهب الظمأ وبطلت الأروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. Right? The thirst is gone, the veins are moist, and the verse is confirmed, inshallah. So you just need to memorize this bit. And other things if you have, of course, right? Now, the dua of Laylatul Qadr, what is it?
اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عني.
Yes, right? Fa'fu anna. Allahumma innaka afoon. Always remember, of course you can say in any parts of the, even now, right? But it is specific for Laylatul Qadr, because Aisha radiallahu anha was asking Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what should we say? Right? And he taught her this, Allahumma innaka afoon tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni or fa'fu anna. Right? One is a singular, one is a plural. If you haven't memorized this, do memorize this now. You still have time, because you do want to make a dua from the heart, because as you know, when we memorize new things, it's difficult to feel it in the heart, because we are always, because Arabic is not our first language, we just focus on the correctness of the Arabic, the language. But when you read it more and more, inshallah, go to the heart and you feel it in the heart, inshallah, right? So al-afu means, we discussed before,
Like pardoning.
More
like-
specifically?
That's what I know.
No, you have to know this more. It's very important. Allah uses the word al-afu more than any other. We know Allah has so many names of forgiveness, right? Al-Ghafar, Al-Rahman Ar-Rahim, At-Tawwab. But Allah specifically taught us through Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, use this, right? Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Why al-afu? Anybody? Either you have not attended my previous lessons, or in my lessons that you are doing something else. In intro, Ayub, Adil.
Is it like the patient one?
No.
Ah.
That patient is what? What is the patient one? What is the name of Allah? That He's forbearing, isn't it? What is that? What is the name?
I forgot, Ustad. I don't know.
Find out, right? But it's not this one. Al-Afu is that Allah, compared to other names, right? Al-Afu specifically means forgiveness. At the same time, the bad deeds will be erased, right? The rest of the names of Allah in regarding to forgiveness, it doesn't involve erasing of the things in our record. But this is specifically dealing with erasing the bad deeds. Hopefully not the good deeds, of course, the bad deeds, right? And this is important that we memorize this, inshallah. And because as you know, every part or every names of Allah, even though it may sound similar, it's different, isn't it true? Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim so different, right? We discussed before. We don't have to discuss it here, right? So we do need to, because when we know more a little bit, then it makes sense and it feels in the heart that, inshallah, with Allah's will, that He will erase all our bad deeds. Okay, questions? Okay. Okay. So this is this last 10 days of Ramadan. Do memorize this dua. Sujud tilawah. What is sujud tilawah?
Is it when you make sujud when you're reading Quran and there's the
yes
little, I don't know how to
so
describe.
I think there's about 15 or 16 parts. Verified. Some scholars says 15, some scholars say 16, right? In the Quran, in which there's a mosque figure, it's a very small print of the mosque shape, which is a sunnah, of course, that Prophet ﷺ did this. He prostrated immediately. And what is the effect of this prostration on shaitan? Shaitan would run away, isn't it true? And he would command. The son of Adam was asked to prostrate. He prostrate. And I was asked to prostrate. I did not. Okay? So that is quite significant, right? So Muhammad ﷺ used, and this again this is sunnah. So in the sense that if you're on a bus or you are on a train, you don't need to prostrate. Perhaps you can, just bow down, just to as a sign of that you are trying to follow the sunnah. Okay. What did you say? What would you say in your prostration?
سجد وجهي للذي خلقه وشق سمعه وبصره بحوله وقوته فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين.
Good. And I'm going to print out all this, inshallah. Don't worry. And as an addition, and a lot of scholars did say you should say Subhan Rabbil A'la first 3 times, right? Followed by the dua that you just said, right? If you cannot remember the long dua sajada wa shalla khalaqu and all this, right? Then you just say Subhan Rabbil A'la 3 times, okay? Which means, right? I prostrated my face to the one who created me and gave it hearing and sight by His might and His power. Glory is to Allah, the best of creators. Hadith from Tirmidhi, Imam Ahmad, and Al-Hakim is authentic, inshallah. Okay, so these are the things that why this we need to know this, because if you pray Tarawih in the mosque, most likely than not, it is in Ramadan that you will come across this, unless some of the mosques pray on for the Friday prayers, for the morning Fajr prayer on Friday. What is the sunnah of the imams who recite on Friday morning for Fajr? Which surah?
Is it Surah Sajda and Surah Al-Insan?
Yes, Sajda, right? Surah number 32 and Insan, is it 46? Come on, Insan is what? 76, sorry, yeah, 76. So 32 and 76. Okay, so, and as part of Surah Sajda, in the first third, there is this prostration. Okay, so, and everybody should prostrate. It is a sunnah, but once Imam does it, everybody does it. Same thing as brothers. If you know that the Imam did an extra, instead of sitting down for the fourth raka'ah, for the tashahud, and he stood up, and somehow he stood up too fast before people say something. What must you say as men when you know the Imam is wrong?
Subhanallah.
Yeah, Subhanallah, right? You shouldn't clap. Clapping is for women, right? And you shouldn't say anything else, because I heard people say this, and all this, Allahu Akbar, and all. No, say Subhanallah, right? This is quite important to correct the Imam. But if right, if he has stood up completely, you shouldn't, the followers shouldn't just sit down like that, expect the Imam to follow. You need to stand up with him. Imam would have heard something, and he would know that he may have done an extra raka'ah, and he should do what should he do before he did the salam? What is the name? Sujud?
Sajd Sahul.
Yes, sujud of forgetfulness. Okay.
So, Dr. Ram?
And you asking me some question? You put out your hand?
Yes. Sorry, my phone cut off, but I've got two questions.
Yes.
First one I was trying to ask before, but I lost signal. And it is, when you did the series on the names of Allah, some of us were not part of this group at all. Is there any plans to do it again in the future?
Inshallah, it takes about a few lessons, at least 6-7 lessons. No? Inshallah, I will. Right?
Inshallah.
Okay.
Right. And the second question is, when you mentioned about doing sajda tilawah, you say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la 3 times.
Yes.
You do the same thing when the Imam makes a mistake as well, and you go into sujood?
Now, yeah, you can say that. Actually, the hadith is quite silent about it. I tried to find out what did they say, but according to some scholars, it just says Subhana Rabbil A'la too. Yes, you can, right? But I haven't come across this where Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, in this sujood of forgetfulness, you say Subhana Rabbil A'la. He didn't say that, but a lot of scholars did say Subhana Rabbil A'la. Okay?
Ma'alim, I have a question.
Yes.
So when you perform Sajd Sahul, you do it when there's extra rak'ah that you perform, right? Like by accident.
Yes. Right.
What about if you do?
So if you know that, or let's say you say salam, right, and you are the imam, and Isha prayer you did only 3, and the followers around you did only 3, what must you do?
I think do you start again?
No, you just need to stand up and doing another one, right? And before you say salam, you did a sujud sahwi.
Also, is it like a witr, like just 1 rak'ah?
Yeah. Because you that's not really with it, because you are continuing with what you forgot.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So if you do, you did less, then you stand up to do the correct one. If you know you do more, well, don't think about it, because it's what shaitan comes into us, right? Shaitan is always telling us to distract us from, I did something wrong, I'm the imam and all this. And of course, the followers also very panicking and all this. No need to do that, because it's part of shaitan's trick to distract us. Just know that, it is part and parcel of our human beings who make mistakes. Focus on what you're reciting, and that's it, right? It will be accepted as per normal, inshallah. Okay. Yes, Sufyan?
So let's say, for example, going back to the question of if you make the mistake of doing 3 and you close the salah, would you and let's say you are the imam and everyone tells you did 3 and you realize that you have to do 1 more. Would you start as though would you say Allahu Akbar and start the salah again?
Yes,
and do the 1?
Just start off again. Just stand up and say Allahu Akbar and do 1 rak'ah.
Okay.
Do you pronounce the surah? Sorry, do you recite a surah or just Fatiha?
I think Al-Fatiha because you are the last part, isn't it true?
Okay.
Of the raka'ah. Yeah. Now, if you decide to, I don't know why we're going to do about salah, but anyway, just another question. If you decide to go to the toilet in the middle of the prayer, what do? Do you just go, or you say a salam right and left?
Yes, Carl.
Ma'alim, I'm confused.
If in the middle of prayer, right, Imam is in front of me, I want to go to the toilet. Do I just leave, or I see some people doing this, salam alaikum, and they leave? Which one do you do?
You just
I think,
right?
I think it's salam. Do salam.
You just leave, actually,
You
right?
just leave, right?
There's no hadith that you should salam. You just leave, right? And when you leave, what is the sunnah?
Do you hold your nose up to
It
pretend
is
you-
quite interesting,
Oh, yeah.
isn't it true? Right? Because you don't want to embarrass yourself, right? So you pretend you have a bleeding nose. So just and then you just go, and that is how it is.
Ma'alim, I have a question. So do you know
Yes.
when you leave, is this just only for going to the toilet, or like, let's say another reason, like someone's like I don't know, like there's an accident behind or something? Because like in when you're in Salah, like for example, when that time when the Regent's Mosque attack happened, everyone was obviously in Salah. It's not necessarily that they could finish the prayer because the attack was already happening.
Yeah.
Do you just leave literally like that when there's an emergency?
Yeah, just live like that.
Okay. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Safyan, question?
Yes. So when you leave and let's say you return, if the salah's finished, do you start again the prayer?
Yes.
Or, and if the salah's continue, you just join.
No, you start from fresh. Right?
Okay.
And inshallah, what is the hadith about intention? If you intend to do a good deed and you did not do the good deed, then you still get the reward of the whole deed, right? So inshallah, you still get the reward of the whole prayer, even though you're not doing it with a prayer congregation, okay? Because things that happen for a reason, that either you pass wind or whatever it is. When you're passing, you don't need to pretend that you are still in the wudu, isn't it? By saying that by pretending that you are still in wudu, it doesn't. You're only wasting your time, isn't it? Just go. Do your wudu. Perhaps you can catch up when you come back, you can catch up the imams, inshallah, and the prayer hasn't ended yet. Whether the prayer has ended or not, you will still get the reward, inshallah, right, of the whole jama'ah. Okay, so that's why we are not, or it is disliked to run to the mosque, isn't it true? Just because the imam has started, right? Because it affects your khushu', firstly. Secondly, it affects the khushu' of the jama'ah. Because when you boom, 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 and put your things inside, then everybody is distracted. So, and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam always advised us, Muslims, we like for others to see us walking with dignity. So that's why we walk normally. We shouldn't even walk faster, right? We always walk normally, and this is a sunnah, right? So in order for people to know, oh, this Muslim is a lot of dignity. That is why I know it's quite strange to say this. If you are walking, I mean, I'm just talking about let's say in normal circumstances when there's not really many people, right? And there is a long what do you call it, pavement that you walk. Do you walk on the right? Do you walk on the left, or do you walk on the center as a Muslim?
On the right, mashallah.
You're guessing, aren't you?
I think in the center.
Why on the right and why on the center?
You go first.
Right is the good side, isn't it?
Because everything's all right, right? Why on the center, Sufyan?
Well, because you mentioned about carrying yourself with dignity. So I think
yes, Muhammad
take
Sallallahu always like Muslims to be dignified. But of course, brothers, we need to be considerate. Let's say it's quite crowded. Don't tell, and people actually walking on the right and left, especially with this COVID-19, isn't it true? Right and left, quite clear. Don't be a hero and trying to, and that's quite bad manners. And I'm talking about in quite a not so crowded time, and it's not that, so you do need to pace yourself or to see their circumstances. So sometimes in a situation such as this, right, you don't have to be, okay, this is hadith, we must do this, and that shows quite if you really do this, and everybody's walking correctly on the right and the left, and you insist on walking on the center, it shows quite a fundamental, for me personally, right? This is what I feel is, it shows a flaw in your character, isn't it true? Right? Especially assessing in the COVID-19 situation. So you do need to assess the situations. Not everything is like that.
Marlon,
Yes.
so this thing about walking in the center is quite new to me. So
It is.
how-
I think if you read these book on akhlaq and book on it may be in the Riyadh Salihin, right? It is mentioned quite clearly walking in the center. Yes. Because for Muhammad sallallahu always like, well, we are honored by Allah. The rest just need to walk on our right, left, right? So they will be squeezed to the side. And this is how it was, especially in the early days of Islam.
So what else is there to like to be? What else should you do to make yourself known as like a dignified person? Because like the way I walk, I don't know. I think I look a bit dodgy when I'm walking. Like I have it in my pockets and a bit slouched over. So like
Lower your gaze, Akram.
no, I don't. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying the way I walk. I feel like I look weird when I'm walking. So
Yeah.
what else? You need to teach me how to walk.
Okay, one day we shall have a modeling lesson, right? We have this what brother Abdullah is our model from America.
Huh?
You're the catwalk. You're the
precisely,
catwalk model.
No.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. You have some hadith, of course. You know, this is something that we just need. For example, right? This is quite interesting hadith, right? Let's say you have a shoes in the mosque, and you finish your prayer, you want to go to the shoes. What should you do first?
Is it like let other people get their shoes first, or
No. Let's say you already got your shoes ready, right? What should you do first?
put your right foot in the first?
No,
shoe?
before that.
I don't know.
You need to actually look into the shoes and because in those early days they had all the scorpions inside their shoes, you know, right? And this is a small sunnah, of course, but it is a sunnah, right? That you look into shoes and then you make sure there's nothing inside, which is true. Sometimes you do not know this Regent's Park must quite dirty, isn't it? From cockroaches and all this inside. You'll be surprised, right? So anyway, so this is some of the things that we have been taught, right, in the hadith. You can just look at it through the etiquette of wearing shoes, etiquette of walking, and all this, inshallah. One day we can talk about all this, inshallah, okay, after Ramadan. Any more questions? Okay, so this is some of the dua. This is the main dua that you should remember in Ramadan, right? So don't forget this. I will put it, inshallah, in the WhatsApp group, inshallah. Other general dua, of course, that brothers we have is not part and parcel of how our deeds are accepted, of course, but it's how Ibrahim alayhi salam made the dua to Allah when every time then he put these build the Kaaba, right? When he put the bricks on the Kaaba, he made this dua, right? Another brick, and he made the same dua. What dua did he make? Brothers, Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? When he was building the Kaaba with Ismail alayhi salam, his son, what dua did he make? Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka anta samiul alim. Zin, which surah is this? Can anybody remember?
Is it Baqarah?
Yes, verse number?
100 and something.
100 and? You got another 199 numbers.
50.
127.
Oh.
Right? It's part of the process about Kaaba and all this. So, again, it is not, you don't need to do this in order for your deeds to be accepted, inshallah. But when Ibrahim alayhi salam did this and taught by Allah to us, of course, we do need to say occasionally, to ask Allah to accept our deeds, especially when we work so hard, we try to control our tongue, we want our fasting to be accepted, we want our qiyam al to be accepted, we want our last 10 nights of Ramadan to be accepted. So all this, so I would say this dua a lot in my sujood, right? Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka anta samiul alim. Our Lord or our Rabb, accept this from us. Indeed, you are the Sami means the all hearer, the all knower. Okay, Surah number 2, verse number 1 to 7. Other dua, let's say, especially towards the end of Ramadan, you suddenly find yourself, your iman is charged and already, and you do not want Allah to misguide you again. What dua would you say?
يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلبي على دينك.
Okay, and followed by
ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب.
which surah is that?
3:8.
Yeah, 3:8, right? So it goes hand in hand according to hadith, right? So ya muqallibal qulub thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Oh, who changes the heart, make my heart firm on your deen. Based on the fact of the hadith, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam always say that our heart is between Allah's fingers. He can always flip us the other side. Isn't it true? That's why we make dua to Allah to make our hearts firm on the deen of Allah, right? And Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. Yeah, asking Allah, our Lord, do not deviate our hearts from the truth after you have guided us, and show us your mercy. And indeed, you are the bestower. And this is important, brothers, because we do not want to end up like Iblis, isn't it true? What did Iblis do? Because Iblis used to be so pious, but he forgot he hasn't died yet, right? So, and just because he is pious, he think that it's okay. I did not submit to Allah once, it's fine, right? I was pious before anyway. And this is a form of kufr, isn't it true? That you pick and choose what you want to obey Allah. And as a consequence of that, subhanallah, Allah put him and his descendants all in hellfire, right? So we do not want to be in that situation. So do not at the same time, of course, pat your back. Every night Tarawih prayer, right? Fasting so good, right? Or finish the Quran. So it is never like that, right? And even Allah, when Allah revealed, A'udhu billahi shaitanir rajim, idza jaa nasrullahi wal fath wa ra'aitan nasa yadkhuluna fi dinillahi afwaja, what happened? Fasabbih bihamdi rabbika wastaghfir innahu kana tawwaba. You know about this, Surah An-Nasr, right? So when the conquest of Mecca came, people were coming to Islam in droves. What happened? You just relax, chill out, you have did my job? No, of course not. Fasabbih bihamdi rabbika wastaghfir, right? You need to glorify Allah and ask for his forgiveness. And this is continuously, because, right, being having that attitude of arrogance just because you have been working so hard in Ramadan, you have finished the Quran, you can recite so well itself, you forget. What did we forget? Because ability for all of us to submit, to thank Allah, all comes from Allah anyway. If Allah do not guide us, we will never be like this. Isn't it true? Right? So very important to understand this, right? That at all times we ask Allah not to deviate us from the truth after He has guided us. Right? The heart is very important. Always the heart, need to clean the heart, and we always need to purify the hearts. How do we purify the hearts all the time, brothers? Because remember, I gave an example, right? The heart is always the center of how Allah guidance comes, always to the heart first, right? Whether the guidance will be effective or not depends on the quality of the heart, isn't it true, right? So if your heart and my heart is not clean, obviously, right, the guidance may also be, well, either half guided or quarter guided. It's not fully guided, right? Because the heart itself is not clean yet, right? Same thing as I said, if you have a Zamzam water which is so pure, and I give you a very dusty glass, right, that is so filthy, and I pour Zamzam water. Zamzam is so pure, but the fact that the container is not pure, you and I would never drink that Zamzam water, isn't it? So that means we won't get the full benefit of this Zamzam water. So the same thing as Allah's guidance. The heart must be clean first, and this is very important. How do we clean our hearts? For example, first of all, of course, seeking Allah's forgiveness all the time, fulfilling all the three conditions of the forgiveness of Allah. We also do dhikr, remembering of Allah and all this. So all this help to, inshallah, purify the hearts at all times. Okay, questions? Other dua include, for example, asking Allah to continuously watch over us. What was my favorite dua which I mentioned about a few weeks ago? Akram?
يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك أستغيث أصلح لي شأني كله ولا تكلني نفسي طرفة عين.
It's beautiful, isn't it true? I mean, I've never found such a beautiful dua asking Allah to not not asking Allah to watch over us all the time, right? Not even for a single second, not watch over us, right? So this is very important hadith from Al-Hakim Al-Bani say is sahih, is sound. Ya hayya qawmi bi rahmatika astaghithu aslih li sha'ni kulla wa takli illa nafsi tarfata ayn. Yeah. O ever living one, O eternal one, by your mercy I call on you to act or to set my affairs correct. Do not place in charge of my soul even for the blinking of an eye. Right? That means for a moment. So continuously, every second we want Allah's guidance. Right? It's very important. Okay. Of course, another dua that we know, Muhammad SAW was telling, what's the Sahaba's name? The Sahaba's name is Mu'ad. Yeah. Oh Mu'ad, I love you. Right? Because of that, I'm going to teach you a dua. What dua did he teach Mu'ad ibn Jabal anhu? Anybody? Okay, another hint. This is to be said before you end the prayer.
اللهم أعني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك.
Yes. Always remember, right? To think about, to remember Allah, to thank Allah. Everything's from Allah. So this dua specifically is asking you and I, to continuously asking Allah to assist you in remembering Him, to thank Him, and also to worship Him in the best of manners. Allahumma a'inna dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Okay. Another one, of course, asking Allah to give us guidance and taqwa. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-huda wa tuqa wal afafa wal ghina. We're asking Allah for guidance and for piety, for safety or well-being. And last one, al-ghina means free from the needs of others. That means you only need Allah, not anybody else. Yeah. The last one, right? I mean, there's many dua. I'm just giving you an example of what dua which you should memorize this, because at the end of the day, it's all about your relationship with Allah. What you want Allah to grant you, right? Allah will grant you with His will, of course, but you need to pick the right dua in order to suit you, inshallah, right? The next one is Surah Yunus, verse number 101. Fatiras samawati wal ard, anta waliyyi fi dunya wal akhirah, tawaffani muslima wa alhiqni bis salihin. Right? The only creator of the heavens and the earth, you are my wali, or my protector, my helper, right? In this world and in the hereafter, cause me to die as a Muslim, right? And join me with the righteous. Very beautiful dua, right? And this is where, don't assume, brothers, that just because your name is Abdullah, Muhammad, Ahmad, you die as a Muslim. It's not necessary. The queen's husband died today, isn't it true? What was the headlines? Oh, he died in a state of peace. Really? Right? Always remember that physical state that you see, it doesn't reflect the reality. Right? As long as a person doesn't die in a state of Islam. And when I say state of Islam, it's not a state of Arabism, right? It's a state of complete submission to Allah. Right? So that means you die in that kind of state that you only obey Allah at all times, right? And you submit to Him completely. And this is quite tricky, especially in the last stages of your life, right? And you have all these tests from Allah, right? How would you respond to this test? How would you react to this test, right? So this is important, because this dua is asking Allah to cause us to die in a state of as a Muslim, right? Not Muslim by name, Muslim as in the full meaning of Muslim, complete submission to Allah, and also to join us with the righteous people. How amazing is this, that Allah, inshallah, with His will, He would join us with the righteous people. And this is such an honor, alhamdulillah, inshallah. Okay? Any questions so far? So these are the random dua the second part. The first part was about Ramadan. The second part is just a random dua. I think it's quite important for all of us to try and memorize if you have not memorized. But of course, as usual, as I always remind myself, when you have memorized a dua, please know the meaning so that you know what you're asking Allah for, inshallah. Okay. Now the next one, what to avoid in Ramadan. The first one, right? One of the most important things is that if we were to meet Ramadan, always be grateful to him, right? Remember, you and I, inshallah, were the chosen ones who will meet Ramadan. And that is a huge difference compared to some people who may not meet Ramadan at all. One of my clients yesterday just told me he's Algerian, or my mother died in Algeria. A few people passed away in this few days whom I know. And for me, it's good, and please make dua that my father-in-law is able to meet Ramadan. It is a sad thing, but it's beyond our control, right? Life and death, everything is from Allah. That's why we keep on making dua to Allah. Allahumma balighna Ramadan. Allahumma balighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, allow me to meet Ramadan, right? So this is very important that we don't assume that, well, we're going to live until our parents or grandparents. No, not necessary, right? We are not all of us, we're going to live like Prince Philip, 99 years old, subhanAllah, right? I also know, brothers, and this is not backbiting, whatever it is. I know people who lead a life until I think about 90 plus, but the last 10 years of the life, or last 10 or 15 years, complete lunacy, or like Alzheimer's and all this, right? It's something quite sad because, sorry to say this, of course you're not in control of what you do or what you say, right? But this is, for me, something that we do not want in our lives, isn't it true? Not only do we cause a burden to our family members, but it also does not increase our good deeds because we can't control it, right? Because your mental state is being so deteriorated that you don't even know what you're doing, I think, right? And this is something that we want Allah to protect us against, this mental illness. And one of the ways, inshallah, of course, is to do a lot of dhikr of Allah, read a lot of Quran, right? So these are the things which helps you and I to hopefully, with Allah's will, of course, prevent us from leading such a long life, but complete waste, because we are not submitting to Allah at all. Okay? Any questions? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, inshallah, to avoid, if Allah were to allow us to meet Ramadan, is don't ever be ungrateful to Him. Always thank Allah for allowing us to have an ability, inshallah, to smell Jannah, right? Any one of us who are given the ability to meet Ramadan, for sure, right, with Allah's will, is able to enter paradise. And this is something we need to understand this, right? And that's why we work hard, inshallah, yeah, and we help each other, we remind each other about to do the best as we can, inshallah, right? So this is the first thing. Secondly, not to do wasting time, right? Enough with the social media, enough with the Netflix, enough with the games, right? I would not even switch on anything at all. I know it's a bit extreme, right? But this is Ramadan, right? You can do whatever things you want after Ramadan, perhaps, right? But this is to train ourselves, right? To really don't waste time, right? And this is something that we do need to make full use of this time, right? In order, because Allah has already allowed us to meet Ramadan, and yet we are spending this time wastefully doing things that are not beneficial for the here. Always remind ourselves the purpose of life is always to worship Allah. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Which surah is this?
51, 56.
Yes. Right? Alhamdulillah, you remember
That's
that.
like every lesson. Sorry, Chef, to interrupt. Just a question.
Yes.
I'm sure you've done it already, but do you have like a sort of timetable of things that you can do to maximize your, ibadah?
I can get for you, inshallah. I may have done it before. The last few years of lessons, inshallah. I can dig it up, inshallah. Okay. So it is, but you agree with me that we must not waste time. Not a single few minutes listening to this, like that has completely. I always ask myself, right? Sometimes I'm human, of course, right? Watching football and all these kind of things. I always ask myself, does this actually help me in my purpose of life? If Liverpool were to win the Premier League, does it actually help me purpose of life? I mean, it doesn't make sense, isn't it true, right? Doesn't matter whether it is a Champions League, whatever in the football, but you're just wasting your time, especially in Ramadan. So don't waste time to watch any of this, inshallah. Spend time memorizing more Quran, inshallah. Finish your Quran with understanding, inshallah. And this is very important, okay? The next one, lack of planning, right? On what to do to improve yourself. So all of us has different weaknesses, isn't it? Perhaps some people have weaknesses in the akhlaq, some people have weaknesses in your tajweed recitation, some have weaknesses in understanding the Quran. So identify your weaknesses and try to improve yourself. Some people, of course, have weaknesses in being punctual for the salah, right? And these are the things that you need to understand, because if at the end of Ramadan, you are still very not punctual in the salah, right? Something must be wrong with Ramadan, isn't it true? Because Allah did say, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun, right? Oh, you who believe, fasting has been prescribed to you as it was prescribed to those before you, so that you may achieve God conscious, right? Waking up late, I'm not thinking about once or twice, fine, right? For Fajr, for example, but continuously, right? For days and days, and it is not a good reflection of the taqwa, isn't it true? Right? Being late for some prayer, especially now, we've got no excuse in summer, right? So Zuhr is very long, Asr is very long, Maghrib is very long. Sorry, Maghrib is short, right? Isha is quite short, right? Because it's summertime and all this coming to summertime. So no excuse, because when we are working and all this, we have a lot of time, right? You and I know, right? One of the best deeds is to pray at an early stated time. So we do want to be among the best Muslims. I think it was in hadith from Bukhari Muslim, if I'm not mistaken. Muhammad said the best Muslim, one of the qualities is that, if not the first one, is to pray at an early stated time. Right? So we need to hold on to this, inshallah, right? And guard our prayers. Hafidhu ala salawatin wa salatin wusta. Which surah is this? That guard strictly our prayer, especially the middle prayer. Akram?
I don't know.
238, if I'm not mistaken, right? 238. And of course, the salah we discussed before many times. Inna salata tanha anil fahshay wal munkar. The salah will prevent immoralities and disobedience to Allah. So if we did all this prayer and we are still committing so many sins, we won't be perfect, of course. So many sins we're committing, the major sins, obvious sins, including lying, including zina, including all these kind of obvious things. And after our praying 5 times a day, we need to look at our salah, isn't it true? Or same thing as I said just now, if we have read all the Quran, and then we're completely doing the same thing again, right? In terms of mistakes, even though Allah said very clearly in the Quran, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا zina, do not come near zina, and you are having girlfriends, you have all these, is it Tinder, right? Abdullah? Or other?
Astaghfirullah.
All the youngsters, you know this, right? I'm sure your friends have done it. So all these kind of things, and you're still committing these sins, which is so obvious, including backbiting and all this. Something must be wrong with our Quran recitation, our understanding and implementation, inshallah. We need to improve ourselves, inshallah, okay? Number 4, right? Things to avoid, right? Number 4, it is to recite the Quran without understanding, right? It's not a competition. You are not required to finish the Quran the whole of Ramadan, right? It's all about the quality that you have, that you learn and you understand and you ponder and you implement, inshallah. Always remember this, right? Number 5, too much emphasis on Tarawih prayer and missed obligatory prayers. And obviously, people are so obsessed with the Tarawih prayer, right? What happened? Right? I must not believe a Tarawih prayer, right? And then the end, subhanAllah, your iftar is so long, right? You miss a Maghrib. Maghrib is finished, right? And this is quite common. People have all this, a whole table full of food and all this, and you are not. And sorry if your mothers who are in my class, if they said they are quite lax in preparing food, it's because of me, right? I have been telling them, think about yourself, right? Prepare your Ramadan for you, right? Don't concentrate so much on your food, and it's very, very important. And don't stress your family members to prepare food for you, right? It's not just about food Oh, sorry, it's not about food at all in Ramadan, isn't it? Not just about food, not about food at all. That you have to make sure this a month, right? It's time for you and I to rebuild or reconnect to Allah, and this is the most ultimate aim of this Ramadan. Now, again, another common thing to avoid is, of course, as I said, it's not too much emphasis on food. Because overeating, what happens when you overeat? You become lazy, and you have no khushu in your salah. And this is one of the, if I'm not mistaken, overeating is one of the traps of shaitan, isn't it true? Right? We discussed many times about traps of shaitan. So we shouldn't overeat, isn't it true, Aiman?
Yes.
Right? The Moroccans are all overeating, isn't it true?
No comment.
True? Sir?
Oh, never.
No comment. No comment.
Okay, right. So don't do this, right? Another things to avoid is, of course, people don't control the tongue, right? In terms of lying. When I say don't control the tongue, it includes, of course, things that you say on the social media. So avoid all this, right? It's no point, or such a ways that you're achieving nothing but thirst and hunger. It's interesting in hadith. Muhammad said, perhaps a person achieve nothing but thirst and hunger because the tongue is still not controlled. Okay. Number 9, still doing the sins which you are doing in Ramadan, right? That means, besides, we talked before many times, it's not just about controlling your food and your drink, but also your eyes, your ears, right? Everything needs to fast. And when I say this, right, it's also not about saying to somebody, let's say 1 hour before iftar, right? Saying to somebody, oh, I got something to tell you, but I do it after iftar, right? And because the intention is there, isn't it true, to commit a sin, right? And this is part and parcel of the ability to have a successful outcome of fasting, which is taqwa, isn't it true, right? If you say to somebody else, I'm going to say to you only after Ramadan, only after fasting at night, then it's something, is because taqwa is 24 hours a day. It's not just about in the daytime. You have taqwa, at night you can do anything you want, isn't it true, right? So this is something that you and I, we need to develop this kind of, if you do not need to say something, you don't need to say something. So for example, right? And when you're married, you also must know this, right? If some of my students say something, and let's say my wife and I knows these people. When somebody says something about these people or that person, this person, just to, in order to ask for my advice, right? I must not tell my wife, oh, you know what? Oh, she said this, this. I've never done that, alhamdulillah, right? Perhaps once or twice, but most of them, no, right? I've never done that, because that's part of backbiting, isn't it? Because somebody is confiding to me about their own problems. I must not say, oh, look at that, this person got problem, even to my closest companion, which is my wife, right? And this is very important, because if not, it leads to backbiting, right? And if I were to confide to you, I need not say to you, right, please keep this to yourself. I mean, this itself is not an attitude of a Muslim, because when I say something, I have great confidence that it must not leave it must go to another person's ear. And this is quite important that we have this trust, right? To say to somebody that, oh, please keep it to yourself, itself is, you have no trust at all when it is an akhlaq of a Muslim, right? To keep things between each other and not to spread out to other people, inshallah, okay? Questions? Now, the number 10, right, things to avoid. Do not be overzealous in the first few days of Ramadan. This week, I've seen so many times, right? Tarawih prayer, wow, first day of Ramadan, second day of Ramadan, third day, very crowded in the mosque. Then after that goes down, and it shouldn't be that way, isn't it true, right? But at the same time, of course, if you're not used to just starting to practice Islam, right, or just to start to practice properly, then you should not overdo it, right? As I said in my previous talks about Ramadan, Tarawih is Qiyamul Lail is a sunnah, right? Somebody of you are not used to it, so you need not always go to the mosque. You can do at home 2 rak'ah and be 1 witr, and that's about it, right? Preserve the energy for the last 10 nights of Ramadan, and that is when completely, inshallah. Ask Allah to give us the strength. No excuse. Try to stay up for the whole night, inshallah. Isn't it true? Right? But in this first 20 days, make it, if you're not used to it, as I said, just chill, right? We can just don't go to the mosque, pray at home, because some of us are working, right? Pray at home, 2 raka'ah, and then of your night prayer, and then one of your witr. That's it. Okay, questions? Now the next one, right? You know that the month of Ramadan, the last 10 nights is we have to go all out, right? And this is how we need to put in all efforts in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, inshallah, right? And this is when, if you can, of course, you can take leave from work, or you can take half day in the morning from work, and then you work in the afternoon, and then do whatever you can in order to ensure that you spend the night in the form, in the acts of worship. Worship not necessarily mean you pray the whole night, right? You can read the Quran, right? Can do the dhikr, right? Read the Sirah of Prophet Muhammad, whatever things you can in order to be in a state of dhikr, inshallah. Okay. Now the next one, right? Not being generous on your wealth. Always remember the wealth that we have is all from Allah. It's not from us at all, right? And it is the month that we, inshallah, we are, Muhammad himself in the hadith that he's most generous in Ramadan, right? So we do need to help others, right? And this is where we have Allah help us to lock up the shaitan. And shaitan is always telling us, right? Oh, don't donate, don't do this, right? Because, you know, who's going to feed you, your family? You don't have much money in your account. Look at your account, right? Don't, right? Don't do it. And we don't have these whispers in general. So we do need to really take full advantage of Allah's mercy, right? By donating money. Always remember, right? And I also experienced, I'm just sharing with you that sometimes when you just give, immediately the same money comes back to your account, right? And this is very important to understand this, right? Charity will never decrease your wealth. It will increase your wealth instead, inshallah, with His will. Okay, questions? Everybody clear? Inshallah. Okay, we're gonna finish inshallah soon. Number 13, right? Do not do this. We always need to keep into account. What is in Arabic word? We said before so many times. Keep into account what we have done, what we have not done. Sorry?
Is it muhasabah?
Yes, al-muhasabah, right?
Yeah.
So the act of keeping into account, right? And this is very important. All of us keep into account our money account, right? Our mobile data, right? Mobile phones, our electricity sometimes, right? We don't switch on the heat all the time, isn't it true? Even though it's quite cold at night, because we want to save money. And this is about keeping into account your bills and all this. How about your deeds? Right? All of us are not perfect. If we think that we need to improve ourselves in the Quranic recitation, in terms, and then you need to attend more classes, isn't it true? Right? If you think that you are lacking in this and that, your prayer will not have enough khushu', then you ask around how to improve your khushu'. And this is something only you can assess yourself. You can't, and taqwa doesn't mean at the end of Ramadan you are like this, wearing this is taqwa. It's not. Right? It's not from the heart, and you do need to really understand this, right? I no need to wear this, but it's just because I haven't cut my hair for 4 months, you know. So inshallah next week the barber is going to open. So it's important for us to understand the taqwa is from the heart, right? And only you will feel it whether you are closer to Allah or not at the end of Ramadan, or even in the first few days of Ramadan. So you do need to assess yourself, and you think, okay, this 1 week I have watched 2 movies, I have played these games. I think next week I'll keep it less, inshallah, right? So this is the keeping account of wasting time and all this, right? I've not done enough sunnah this week, so next week I shall increase it a bit more. I have not done my morning dhikr this week because I may have my exams, I have meetings and all this. Then next week I need to do more dhikr, inshallah, right? So these are the things that you do need. Only you can do it yourself, not anybody else. Okay. Next one, number 14. Okay. You still have disputes with others. You fail to forgive others. At the same time, you fail to ask others to forgive you. Remember, a lot of people will have problem actually with others, the rights of others being infringed. right? So before Ramadan starts, I would just advise you to email everybody to your Facebook or your internet, whatever it is. Ask others for forgiveness, sincerely, of course, right? And if you don't forgive you, you have done your job, right? You do not no need to grovel for forgiveness from others. Of course, you need to be sincere, right? So if it has led to the loss of something, like money and all this, you need to return that money because of your fault. This person lost about 200 pounds, 100 pounds, whatever it is, then it need to be returned, right? It's not just about, unless the person forgive you, of course. Okay, and this is about accountability, right? And this is the rights of others, not the rights of Allah. Allah is always Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. If we meet all the criteria of repentance, inshallah, He will forgive us, right? And if, but the rights of others, Allah cannot forgive us. We do need to settle out the debt, or very important. Or even Muhammad refused to pray the funeral prayer, janazah prayer of somebody who has not paid the debt yet, and until somebody promised to pay the debt. I think it was 2 dinar, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Lastly, of course, do not forget to pay the zakat al-fitr, right? It is due at the end of the Ramadan. The last time that you can pay is before the Eid prayer, right? But of course, you do not want to wait until the last moment. I'm collecting it, inshallah, if you want to donate. I didn't collect it earlier because I don't want to confuse you with other donations. Perhaps in the middle of I'll make an announcement, inshallah, and we will pay it in Indonesia again, right? I think £5 per person. I'll announce it again next week, inshallah. Okay. So this is it, right? So it's a huge thing to look forward to in Ramadan, right? It is a huge honor if Allah has chosen us to meet the month of Ramadan, and make dua Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will clean our hearts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow all of us to meet the month of Ramadan, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us our sins and shortcomings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our love of the Quran, increase our love for Him, increase our love for everything that He has ordered us to do, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us Jannatul Firdaus. Subhanallah wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. No classes tomorrow, okay, because I have to go to the airport. Please make dua for us. I'll be around alone in Ramadan, eating iftar alone. So may Allah subhanahu make it easy for me, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us good health, right? Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum
Assalamu alaikum.
salam.